Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new Crusade. It is not appropriately named right now, but I guess since I'm by myself, this is episode 2 of On Crusade, which, like I had said last time, is going to be the name for the solo shows here on the channel. So today, as you can see, we're obviously going to be talking about Lila Rose. Lila Rose exposed herself. Is she ever going to apologize? I doubt it. Now, Lila Rose for anyone who doesn't know, is a prominent pro-life activist turned podcaster. She famously went and spoke out, she famously exposed a lot of abortion Inc., let's say, when she was younger by doing undercover filming, I believe. It might have even been before she became an actual adult when she was a kid. And because of that, everyone has a lot of goodwill towards her. And I think that she deserves that. She did something very, very good a while ago. And so people still respect her for that, which is good. That's a respectable thing to do. She risked her I don't know. She took on that risk during that period of time. So glad that she did that for the movement. And since then, she has basically been pushed over the coming years into this pro-life figurehead position. And it's not like she calls herself that, but when the way you talk with people, or if you critique her, the way people talk about her, they really view her as maybe not the leader of the pro-life movement, but it seems like, especially among Catholics, she seems to be kind of on this, Mount Rushmore of pro-lifers that you're not allowed to critique. Her, the I believe her name is Kristen Hawkins, the one who runs Students for Life. There's that one ex-abortionist girl, Abby something or other. I don't know. Notice that they're all women, interestingly enough. It's kind of interesting that there are so many women in charge of this pro-life movement. But that's kind of the background on Lila as a person. But she seems to have mainly shifted into Abby Johnson. Eli just said, yeah. But so Lila has seemingly, from the amount of content you see her putting out, has turned from more of an well, I guess she's never really been anti-abortion. She's been more pro-life is kind of her shtick. And so because of that, I'm not sure exactly what year she converted. She went from being an evangelical Protestant to being a Catholic, although, a lot of people will critique her that she maintains a lot of her Protestant tendencies, which really isn't up for me to judge, but that is something that people say about her. And I think that as her show has gotten more and more popular, using the goodwill she had built and that she had garnered through her pro-life work, she's kind of used that to push herself into the mainstream of, I guess, pro-life podcasting, Catholic podcasting, Christian podcasting, maybe what you might call like conservative Christian girl boss podcasting. Think about Allie Beth Stuckey. Think about a lot of these. There's a lot of people kind of in the Zionist mainstream right who get pushed into these positions. More recently, after the death of Charlie Kirk, obviously you have Erica Kirk being pushed into this position. You know why it's happening depends on each person. Obviously, within like the bigger old guard of conservative television, there was always women in there. Seemingly, when a lot of the online stuff started, kind of when it was the Wild West in the very beginning, up until I would almost say like maybe the mid to late, or probably the early to mid 2010s, when it was kind of the Wild West. Obviously, it was kind of male dominated because it was not like a safe space in the way that television was. And so because of that, most of it was men who were willing to put themselves out there in a lot of these more serious positions, I guess. And then as it's become safer and a lot more corporate, as a lot of these corporate interests have shifted and they're starting to pour money into online, now there's a lot of women who are using the strategies that women use as opposed to strategies men use to, gobble up the money that's being used to get themselves a platform. And there is a huge push and a huge appetite for for conservative content from women. And it's not because they actually want to be trad, but it's because because it's like something that makes you feel good. It's like when you watch like a I worked out for 90 days challenge to see someone's body transformation instead of actually going and working out for 90 days. And you can just sit there and consume those videos and then you never have to do it. Same thing for these women. And it happens for men too. That there's this trad wife content as opposed to or there's trad man content as well, obviously. And instead of actually going and living that traditional life, which obviously a traditional woman and a traditional wife is literally the opposite of the type of woman who would go out and platform herself. I've talked publicly on Twitter with my friend Nick, 12th Crown, about him and his wife. And I feel like he said a couple times, he's just like, yeah, my wife isn't online. Like, he's not saying she's an actual trad wife, like to brag about it. And, but like just stating it as a fact, Yeah. Eli says here, trad wives have become fetishized. And you see that a lot with those accounts that are run by Indians like Trad West or Ultimate Trad or all these different things that they name them. They're selling like these cheap Chinese made elastic dresses, and then they use like pornographied advertising imaging where they'll put like trad LARPing memes, and then on like the fourth scroll through of the image carousel on Instagram or Twitter, you see that, oh, it's like click on my website and come buy my pornified trad wife dress for your wife. And so it's really become this industry. And so it's not that Lila Rose specifically exists in the trad industry, although she definitely does have her tentacles there. It's mostly that it almost seems to me that she's kind of built to a certain extent her own little niche, like everyone has to do if they want to succeed. I would put her, kind of say she's most similar to someone like Allie Beth Stuckey. I think that Allie Beth Stuckey is much more prideful. She thinks a lot more of herself than Lila does, or at least maybe she's just more aggressive. And because of that, probably more naturally off-putting. Lila Rose is a lot sweeter and a lot more saccharine. And so, neither seems especially authentic to my eyes. But I can see why Lila gets less pushback because of kind of her natural demeanor. And so, as Lila's built her audience, when I first converted to Catholicism, I remember I watched a few videos from her podcast. She did one interviewing an ex-male prostitute, I guess, porn star. And I remember I'd watched that because he was some evangelical pastor, and this was right before I was converting, and I was starting to watch a bunch of Catholic content. That was when I was really into. That's when I was really into Trent Horn and Pints with Aquinas. Tommy, I will get to your super chat. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to keep my train of thought going. And so, Lila's kind of built her own little niche, and like I said, I think she's probably the most similar to Stuckey, but within the women's space, it really seems like, the Catholic women's space, Lila is generally, I would say, kind of the dominant force that exists. She gets to maintain this goodwill. She gets to maintain this kind of force field of no one is allowed to criticize her because she works in pro-life. She obviously still runs live action. Majorian and I have done some work into talking about our personal issues with how she does that, our personal issues with the spending and the way live action is run, and not specifically just having to do with the income that they have, but more specifically having to do with if they're supposedly are actually trying to achieve the goals that they claim and push the message that they claim, why Majorian and I seem to think that their pursuit of those goals seems to be in contradiction to the actions that they actually go out and do. Lila's also done some things debating people, and it's kind of, she gets these brownie points built up as well when you go and you debate someone who's as like repulsive and disgusting as like Destiny, for example. And, it's easy to make yourself look good and look above reproach when the person sitting across from you at the desk is claiming, that you should be able to do terrible things to children in order for him to stay logically consistent with his pro-abortion beliefs, for example. And like I said, Lila Rose does deserve, to some extent. Now, I think the issue is that ultimately as a woman, should she be in this position is a question that we need to be asking. But to a certain extent, the fact that she is doing something that is good as far as offering a rebuttal to these people is good. But okay, let me keep moving. And so she does some stuff that is commendable, and so because of that, she kind of builds this armor. It's like a plot armor almost, where just nobody can ever criticize her because, oh, she did this good thing, what have you done? She did that good thing, what have you done? And so especially recently, she started to stack up these really, really big, serious, what to a lot of people are going to seem like big and serious mistakes. And it's not that you're not allowed to make mistakes, but it's that Lila Rose makes these mistakes. She always doubles down on them, and then she never is willing to apologize for them. And that's what this video is about today. We're talking about how Lila Rose platformed. Let me see what his name is. One second. I have it here on Thursdays. She platformed a Protestant named Dano McCollum, who I guess has ties, Thursday said, to, what was it, Bethel, which I believe is a like an evangelical Protestant. I don't know if it's a collective or a church or a organization, exactly how you call it. The accusation being leveled towards them, this organization that her guest is, I don't know if he's a part of, or if it's just better to say associated with, is that they engage in like borderline new age practices. And so she had him on her show, and they were talking specifically on the show. The show is titled, let's see here, How the Police Find Kidnapped Kids Through Prayer with Dano McCollum. Episode, if you want to find it yourself, it's 258 of the Lila Rose Show. It was posted on October 17th, 2025. And then you can also go and see on the channel The Sanity Revolt, which is Thursday's channel. He has about an hour-long video specifically talking about the problems in this interview. And then I'm going to be more widely talking about the things that happened after Thursday's video. And so Thursday was, I basically think, one of the first people to really notice this video and to see a problem with it. In it, she's talking with this Protestant who swings towards the charismatic side, which is, from my perspective, obviously problematic. I guess Lila is friendly with a lot of that stuff, and that's something that I personally have a lot of problems with, but it's not worth like really sitting here and getting into the nitty gritty. You can watch my interview with Kennedy Hall, and I pretty much agree with all of the conclusions he comes to about the problems with charismatic anything in his book on the topic, Charismania. And so I'm not going to delve into there too far into that. You can watch my interview with Kennedy Hall. You can read his book. It's not very long. But so she's entertaining these charismatic ideas, and part of it, which is in a lot of these circles, you see a commodification and a trying to think of a word. It's almost like a merit badge, where like they view the fruits of the Holy Spirit and the gifts, these gifts of the Holy Spirit, as like a badge. It's like, to get to the next rank, you have to stack up. Oh, well, I have my speaking with tongues badge, and now I have my prophecy badge. And so now I'm a good Christian. I have a this and a that, and now I'm a good Christian. And so they turn these gifts, which are bestowed by the Holy Spirit, onto people. There's lots of different saints who have had different miraculous gifts. There are specific ones mentioned in the Bible. Prophesying is the one that is fundamental to this situation, or that is being brought up in this situation. And so he sells what are essentially, the accusation being made by Thursday is that he's committing simony by selling courses for large amounts of money, teaching people how to gain these gifts. Come and spend money with me and learn how to get the gift of prophecy, or learn how to use the gift of prophecy, or it's kind of sold as if like you were to sell some type of pickup class. Oh, come buy my pickup class, and the result is that you are going to get more women. Come and buy my workout course, and the result is you are going to add 50 pounds to your bench press or whatever, right? The insinuation is that come and buy my course and you are going to get the gifts of the Holy Spirit, learn how to pray and then prophesy. And he tells all these sorts of stories. He talks about how One of the stories he tells is that there's somebody driving home and from one of their prayer groups, and they were praying for they were praying for, they said, give us 4 resurrections or give us however many resurrections. And they drove home and one of the guys encountered a crash and supposedly the guy was dead and then came back to life. But of course, there's no like actual evidence to confirm this. It's this guy telling the story, and then this guy heard it from someone else. So it's hearsay of hearsay talking about the prayers that saved these people. Another story was talking about locating, we prayed for these lost children to be discovered, and then 2 days later someone found them and they had been missing for a certain amount of years. So that's how we know that our prayers did this. And then what these are his client testimonials, right? This is like the virgin to Chad glow up when you pay this guy the dating coach and he says, look at this loser virgin, and now he's slept with 50 women. That's what this guy's saying. He's saying, look at these people. I taught them how to pray, and then they prayed for these children to be found. And then you pay me to take this course. And when you pray, these things will happen. That's the feeling being put forward, even if that's not explicitly what is being said, right? And I would say that is more so explicitly what's being said than the fact that it's necessarily some type of hidden message or anything like that. Let me put up some chats real quick. I don't think I called out Majorian at all. What did I call out Majorian for? Yeah, Ryan says he bought several from the link because he trusted her. But that's exactly what's happening, is that people trust Lila. They think she has her shows vetted. And because of that, if Lila is platforming someone, this is the assumption, is that if Lila Rose is platforming someone, then their content is trustworthy. And the fact that one of the main problems that Thursday had is that these courses these videos are also going out on EWTN's website and maybe their app, but it's like EWTN on demand. And EWTN has a standard that they are committed to upholding, an orthodoxy standard that they are committed to upholding. Okay, wait, sorry. Yes, so Thursday said, no, it's worse. She is claiming publicly now that these videos are vetted for orthodoxy, and they're being put on EWTN, and EWTN has a separate standard for orthodoxy that they expect out of the content that they produce. And then in this video that is supposedly being held to both of these standards, there is this Protestant who is putting forth these ideas that if you pay him money, and it is not a small amount of money, it's thousands of dollars for his courses, that you can go and gain access to what he claims are these spiritual gifts so that he's able to, for lack of a better word, channel. He's putting himself forth like he's some kind of medium, basically, and that he has the ability to help you gain these gifts. And so this is obviously from the outside very, very problematic. And what you see when Thursday was addressing this problem, he saw it as being simony, which is a serious sin. It's the selling of something spiritual. And so, Thursday talked about this in his video, but it's from the story of Simon Magus, who told the apostles that he would pay them money for them to give him the gifts of the Holy Spirit that they had. And that's what's happening. It's these gifts that are divinely bestowed upon certain people. The fact that certain saints are able to work miracles is a special gift given to them by God. St. John Bosco didn't stop people falling from the sky because he purchased a $5,000 course and listened to someone and learned the right prayers to say. And so the accusation being put forward based on what Thursday knew and based on what he had vetted against the new Truthfully AI, which, I'm not really, personally, I don't put pretty much any stock into what an AI says, but he was just trying to find something to corroborate this, said that it was simony. And so he had reached out personally to someone on Lila Rose's team, and they had said that they were going to handle it. They had said, oh, wow, this does appear to be simony. And then they ghosted him. The person's identity, it doesn't matter. But the fact is that this is someone who should have known better. And this is someone who this is someone who can be held to the standard of when they read what Thursday had told them. Thursday is a well-respected, a well-known. Okay, sorry. To clear Thursday's name, he did not use truthfully. The gentleman on Lila's team used it, and so Thursday has a good name. He has a good reputation. People do not like this accusation does not come lightly coming from him, and so because of that, when Thursday had gone to follow up, he had been told this was going to be addressed. It had not been addressed. And so Thursday had previously committed to not making this into a public campaign against Lila Rose. And he had essentially said, okay, I will go about this privately, which is the right way to go and move forward with something like this. And it was not handled at all. The link to this gentleman's whether it's directly sinful or just an occasion for sin or whatever it is necessarily from like an objective standard, it is at least seriously dubious. The link to his products, to his courses stayed. The episode stayed up both on EWTN and on YouTube, and nothing was addressed. Thursday came back out publicly after giving it a decent amount of time and not hearing anything. And here's kind of where the real story starts. Everything I had said up to this point, you can get a more in-depth explanation from Thursday's video. Go on to the Sanity Revolt. Go on his channel. You'll see here in the chat, I believe this is one of his, I don't know if this is one of his accounts or his actual account that you can click on and it'll have you pull up his channel, but you can go on his channel and he has an in-depth, and it is not a reckless accusation. It is a very serious and a solemn, not in like a sad way, but like an appropriately serious accusation that he's putting forward. And he particularly has a devotion and respect for Mother Angelica. And so because of that, he feels that it is the maintenance of that standard is important, especially on EWTN. And now, as Lila is claiming, her own independent standard. So I'm going to pull up some of. I'm going to pull up some of these videos or some of these different things that were being said to show you guys on Twitter really quickly. So let me share my screen. One moment. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. I wish I could zoom in more, but I'm bad at all the technology. So this is what you get for now. So if you look here, it's Thursday's account, and he says, update, Lila has removed the link to Dano's scandalous ministry from her video's description. Lila and her team know this is scandalous. They still have the interview up. However, Googling Dano still brings up the exact same link. Just removing the link is not good enough. And this was Lila's response. Hi, Thursday. We vetted this interview with 2 priests independently. So this is the standard that I was telling you Lila said that she was holding herself to. Before we release, who both approved it, and it is not in violation of Catholic teaching. The gifts of the Holy Spirit is not, that's not proper grammar, limited to Catholics. Selling books and courses teaching people how to pray is not simony. Therefore, I tell you, and now here's her misuse of scripture, her misquoting scripture here. So first thing, obviously, is that people asked her who those priests are. She did not even like she said, for their privacy, I'm not going to talk about it. She just completely ignored it. And then you can see here, she claims it's not in violation of any teaching. So she is claiming that pushing and promoting a Protestant who sells courses teaching you how to pray, and then the idea being that if you pray this way, you will receive the gifts of the Holy Spirit, which is what he is putting forward, that is not against Catholic teaching. She also claims that the Holy Spirit bestows gifts on heretics or schismatics, which is something that whether or not like you can really defend that or go one way or the other in favor of that, I'm not here to say, but that is just when you look at it on its face, that also seems dubious. And then we also have, obviously, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will truly be yours. So like with her justification of it, then there's no reason to believe that if I go pray and believe that, pray that I, like St. John Bosco, can raise my hand and stop someone from falling, that then I'm going to go the next time there's someone who's being talked down from jumping off a building, say, no, don't worry, guys, I prayed for this, and go put my hand up. In the same way that I am not able to do that, you are also not able to go and pray that prayer and then go, okay, time for my prophesying, right? And also the idea that what it takes to get there is the fact that you need to pay thousands of dollars to her guest is obviously clearly problematic. So, all right, I'm going to check the chat really quick, and then we're going to go into this next section really quick. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, that's the app for Thursday's channel. Okay, then so that's what was being said, and at the same time, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Lila Rose's producer was also defending Lila. That's kind of the nice way to say it. I would say that she was being manipulative, and she was being purposefully manipulative in her defense of Lila, which, if Lila's in the right, seems pretty unnecessary. Give me one moment. I'm trying to find the part of her. Here, it'll be easier for me to find it on my phone, because I just want to read it to you really quick. It was also what her producer said. Sorry, guys, one moment. Okay, so her name is Keely Bowler. Keely Bowler was going ahead and attempting to defend Lila. And it was, if you want to DM me the link, I can come on if it'll help. Yeah, give me a second. I got you, Thursday. I will send you the link. Okay, link is sent. So Keely Bowler was defending Lila, and Lila is her boss, so obviously you should not expect her to be fair. You should not expect her to be neutral, obviously. But what you should expect is, it is reasonable that Lila, you would assume this girl is friends with Lila, and so it's reasonable for her to want to defend her. So she started off by replying to Thursday with a thread that she says here, I wanted to take the time to put together a thoughtful response to Thursday's claims that one of the guests was committing simony. And then she has like an 8-message or an 8-post or a 6-post, it's a couple posts long thread, basically attempting to explain why this is not problematic. One of the things I don't like that she did is she just puts verse citations without putting the verse there, and without actually exegeting what she thinks the verse says. So instead of saying, Luke XYZ says this, she was just putting up these verses. Hello, Thursday.
What's up, dude?
Okay, let me turn up mine so I can hear you. And so, okay, really quick. So she was saying that, and then she was also going ahead, and I think as everyone started getting madder at Lila, I think she started delving into maybe a bit more of an emotional response, in contrast to what you would call her initially, which was fairly calm. I think her initial thread response to you, Thursday. Thursday's getting up. One second. I'm going to turn on my fan. I'm going to get up too.
Gotta get my lights, dude. I gotta turn the lights on.
No worries. So now we have Thursday with us.
Okay.
First time on the
Where
channel.
are we? Yes, it's my first time on your channel. You've been on. You haven't been on my channel, but you were on the live stream.
I was on the live stream. So we've officially met one other time. So I had kind of pushed. I feel like I've explained the beginning of the situation.
So here's the thing. You explained it.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing here, the biggest development today was a couple instances of implied admission of guilt combined combined with just some like weird uh, ins- insistences that it was not admission of guilt.
Hmm.
Um, and I did talk to I texted Keely today too. Actually,
Hmm.
um, I got her phone number. We texted a little bit, and it was not fruitful. So I won't bother you guys with that. But it was basically rehashing of everything that had happened publicly. Um, I think the most telling instance of this today, I think, was Father Toddleben. What Father Toddleben said,
I have
Total
that.
G,
Yes. Yeah.
and then
That's
Keely's response to Father Toddleben was like,
yeah.
"Dude, are you engaging in this? Like, are you in the same reality that I am?"
Hmm.
Because Father Toddleben says it's not simony, which I have talked to a couple other people today who a couple of mentors and a priest friend of mine, and we think that it functions in it that the courses. So here's the thing: to argue it's not simony, you have to say like the argument that it's not simony is largely it's not simony because this guy doesn't think he's selling spiritual gifts. He thinks that everyone has them. The
Hmm.
problem is that's not the Catholic teaching. So if you engage with these courses in a Catholic ecclesiology, Catholic theology, that not everyone gets these gifts, then you are paying so that you will get these gifts. Now, you may not be paying him for him to bestow them upon you, but the payment for the is for the functional reception of the gifts. Now, that's an aside, because what Father Toddleben points out is that it kind of doesn't matter if it's simony.
Because he
Like,
doesn't think it does, but he still thinks it's majorly problematic.
he still thinks it's a huge problem, to the point that, like, in this interaction, do you have the one where he just replied with puke emojis at one point?
I think so. Let me check really quick.
Oh, it's so. He just replies with puke emojis to Lila's producer at one point today. Like, that's how, like, not chill with this priest is. Um, Hair
Trying
mogged.
to find it.
I
Let
mean,
me
I can show you my hair. It's just I like the hat. I don't like. I live in a very old house with radiators for heat, so it's
Someone's
very
trying to
energy
call it out.
inefficient to turn the heat all the way on. Theology matters. Said I got hair mogged. Yeah. So Father Toddleman basically is like, look, this is still really bad and dangerous, even though I don't think it's simony. And her response was, "Glad to hear you agree with us.
What?
It is not simony. Are you going to apologize for trying to cancel us?" And it's like, okay, first of all, Father Toddleman is not trying to cancel you. He's just he's like the most stereotypical Dominican, and I mean that as a compliment, where he's just like, somebody asked him a theology question and he was just like, he didn't think, I'm siding against Lila and with the Zoomers. He just went, I'm going to answer this theology question. Like,
Yeah.
that's all this guy thought, right? Yeah. And then so she's like, so he explains why it's snake oil. It explains why charisms don't work this way. And then she says, "Father, what do you think of this episode about prophecy with a Catholic?" And he's just like, "No." Like, he just like disgusted with it.
Yeah, and then he says
Um,
below, the very fact they call this stuff supernatural indicates they don't know what they're talking about. These people need to study Catholic tradition and the Bethel Supernatural School of Ministry less. Bill Johnson is not a reliable spiritual guide.
yeah.
And so, but this, I think this is what he said there is very important, because one of the claims being made by Lila and her team is that there is basically that they don't see a fundamental issue with engaging with Protestants in this way.
Yeah,
Protestants
so
can
this is
receive these
something
gifts, and we can engage with them in this way because they can validly receive these gifts.
this is something Keely literally said, and I can, like, she said this on Twitter today. She was like, "Well, so you think we should delete all of our interviews with Protestants?" And it's like, this was one of the times where she was just being like blatantly dishonest and straw
Yeah.
manning, right? Because I had enumerated three specific issues I had with this specific interview
Mm-hmm.
and this specific guest on this specific topic. And her response was, "So you think we should delete all of our interviews with Protestants, which is a dishonest straw man. Like there's no, like, I was talking to another mentor today, a different mentor today, and I said to him, I said, I want to be charitable, but the charitable interpretation of this is that like that she's just not able to engage with these arguments in a way that suggests that she should be in a position to be in any way controlling like a program that has lots to do with theology and apologetics, you know?
Hmm.
And but the more likely interpretation is just that she knows that she's straw manning,
Hmm.
you know? Um, so I said, where did I say that? And her response was, all Protestants teach heresy. So why don't you object to having all Protestants on the show? Why not just this one? I mean, and that's like a really, really easy answer because it's in this specific case, you had this specific Protestant on and then recommended him as an authority and teacher on a specific issue with which he differs from the church's theology on.
Hmm.
It wasn't like, let's have a general talk about culture, right? Like one of
Hmm.
my favorite interviews we ever did at Pints years ago was the one with Jonathan Van Maren. And he was brought on specifically to talk about culture and post-Christian cultures and like cultural decline as a journalist and like as a like a commentator on that issue, right? But that's something where we have a lot of agreement with um, more traditional Protestants, right? Um, like we had Father Calvin Robinson on, who at the time was an Anglican, he's a Protestant, but we didn't have him on to talk about like the role of authority in the church. We had him on to talk about his speech and his culture work, right? But in this specific case, Lila has invited and presented to her audience a Protestant who differs from the church in his theology of the charismatic gifts of the Spirit on specifically the charismatic gifts of the Spirit, and then
Hmm.
presented him as a teacher who could be learned from. And since she had the link, she takes it down, she puts it back up with the Encounter Ministry link, and now Keely is presenting, and I didn't want to like pile on and like push on this, but now she's like saying like if you look, there's one of her tweets where she's like, well, you should look into the Encounter thing. That's what's in the show notes. And it's like that's not what was in the show notes when people started freaking out.
Hmm.
Like you adding that and then saying that you should look into that one if you're Catholic is an admission that in the original that until there was pushback that the description and the way you were leading fellow Catholics was lacking.
Hmm.
Um, and and so like it. I mean, it's just like you cannot justify bringing on a heretic as an authority and a teacher on the very thing with which he differs from the one holy, true, and Catholic and Apostolic Church. Like
Hmm.
it's just like that's what this comes down to, right? It's not like he's a Protestant. It's not all this other stuff. Like the very thing he differs from the church on is the thing you're presenting him as an authority on,
Hmm.
uncritically.
Yeah. And I think that, it would be the equivalent of if you brought in like a dispensationalist as an authority on like eschatology and interpreting end times prophecy or something. You're like, unless you're doing that to explain where you differ, like you
Yeah,
have
there's
to
a.
make
I mean,
sure
the
you're doing
quintessential example. I know people. I know your audience probably doesn't think as fondly of Pints and Matt as I do, but like, just as somebody who's worked in this for a while, I have a lot of real life examples of this happening. Right, like we had an interview scheduled with Dennis Prager before Prager said the thing he said about pornography.
Yes.
We told Prager he could only come on if we could talk about that. Like
Yes.
it was a condition of the interview happening,
Hmm.
right? And like that was at the time, that was before Matt interviewed Jordan Peterson. That was before I mean, that was at the time Matt's biggest interview ever. And he was willing to completely sack it if he couldn't if he was going to present this man uncritically to his audience as a condition of the interview happening. He was willing to completely sack it,
Hmm.
right? And that's why like as much as you may have problems with Matt, I don't think it can be said that Matt engages with these kind of things and like brings on these people whom he disagrees with lightly. Like
No,
he
I
makes a
absolutely agree. Yeah.
point to never let them present something contrary to the church's teaching without pushback, unless it's like super obvious, right? Like unless they're saying something like, unless the point they're making is I differ from the Catholic Church on this, and like they're making it in the larger context of a larger point. Like
Yeah.
sometimes Matt will just let that go, but that's because it's obvious, right? Like if a Protestant's making a point about sola scriptura, Matt doesn't feel the need to go, well, the church doesn't believe in sola scriptura. Like he's not
Yeah.
school marming them, but he's not gonna, but he doesn't bring these people on to do this kind of things because he takes his responsibility to his audience seriously. And
Mhm.
I think it's clear at this point that you would have to be, I think you would have to be like foolish or naive to think that Lila and her team take their responsibility to their audience seriously.
Yes. Thank you, by the way, really quick for 5 gifted memberships. I really need to do something to make it worth it for you guys. So we'll come up with a good membership members only thing coming up soon. But yeah, I actually really agree. I actually think where most of my disagreements with Matt are usually, I think, some type of tactical thing, or it's actually something that he believes that I disagree with. Very
But it's
rarely.
always stuff, it's yeah, and I have those disagreements too. We were friends, we talked about them.
It's never that Matt allows someone to get away with anything. I actually think exactly what you're saying. He's very, very good about offering pushback. And
Mhm.
so Matt and I might disagree. Like, I'm not saying we disagree, but just as an example, we might disagree about like Pope Saint James, John Paul II. Like he and I might have a disagreement about something having to do with John Paul II. But like, if someone said John Paul II wasn't a pope, which both Matt and I would disagree with, Matt would push back against that.
Yeah.
So he and I might disagree with something about John Paul II, and so that's where any of my disagreements are. And I do think that that is really somewhere where generally I would say Matt does a very, very good job. And I think part of the reason why he does that is because he has a sufficient level of education to be talking and
He's people do not realize how much further education Matt Fradd has. I will
yes,
tell you that, dude.
yeah,
People assume that he's just like a guy with a podcast. It's like,
no,
buddy, the podcast was an extra credit assignment for his master's in theology.
yeah. Well, when you watch those first couple years of videos, it's become a lot more popular level. And so I don't think people realize. I mean, he used to, even when he was doing interviews originally, it would be like, well, actually, this relates to this thing. And then he would like read regularly out of serious
Yeah.
theological
He
texts.
understands
So,
a lot of it. Yeah.
yeah,
People also don't, I mean, I don't want just to just turn into like
I'm not.
praising my friend because that would be, I think that might be cringe, but like uh Matt is like, I don't think people realize how much Matt treats, how seriously he takes the like spiritual burden that his show is, and how seriously that is. Like he like the amount of like prayer and like fasting and stuff like that he does for his ministry, for his show, to make sure that it's going to the right things are is really beautiful. Um and I say all that, like that's all just to say, like there are clearly ways you can do this style of show, this open-ended interview style show, where you don't have to just have on people who you agree with 100% and who are like 100% orthodox, and like, you'd have to like, you can, like, you never have on Protestants like that. That's
Mhm.
clearly not necessary. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's
Like you
not the
can do it
standard.
well.
That's not even a standard that I want to uphold. There were some
Right,
people
that's the
joking,
point I'm
like,
making. Is
yeah,
that's not the
exactly. Yeah,
standard
yeah,
we're trying to uphold. The standard we're
yeah.
trying to uphold is don't put people in places of authority on which they differ from the church.
Well, exactly. So I'm speaking with Calvin Robinson next week, and I'm not going to be asking him, for advice on understanding like difficulties with the church hierarchy. Like that's not somewhere where I'm interested in speaking about with him because it's just not a fruitful, path forward. So yeah, I think we agree on that. I really think that the biggest thing that I wanted to put forward was the same thing about what Father Tottleben said, because he had said, I don't think it's simony, but here are still all the reasons why it's problematic. And so whether or not you in your initial accusation were even correct, you could retract that and say, okay, even if it's not, guess what? There still are all the other reasons provided by him that it still ought not to be there. And then what it also makes me question is what is the level what is the standard of review that these videos were going through? Because like you were saying, it doesn't feel, and this is just for me as a person from the outside, there are multiple different instances that have made me feel this way, but especially because of this video, it does not feel like Lila takes seriously the fact that a lot of people, and I think that they are good faith, but generally ill-informed people who view her as a authority. And she is probably right to say, well, I don't try to put myself forward as an authority, or I don't say I am, which those might be correct. But the fact is that you still, even if you don't say that, if you know that people view you that way, you have to make choices understanding that that is something
Well,
that's
so
happening.
this is a thought I've had. I've thought it for a couple of years. People accuse Pints of being Catholic Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan doesn't have any degrees, and Joe Rogan doesn't care what people say on his show.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan doesn't really push back when people say crazy things. The Lila Rose podcast is Catholic Joe Rogan. Pints is much more well thought out than Rogan is,
That's fair.
like, kind of to go what you were saying, like, I even did this right. Like before Father Toddleman got involved, my initial response to Lila was, "I'm going to maintain my objection on the ground of sodomy. That's not the only issue. Here's some other issues," and their response to that was, Keeley, her producer's response to that was the so you don't think we should have any Protestants on? So there's that straw man. And then the other issue I had, which I don't know if you brought up yet tonight, but boy, this one's not great. And it's I think this one's as bad as the rest of it. It's just not getting as much attention because it happens at the end of the video and it's not nearly as long. Um,
The Eucharistic part.
the Eucharistic miracle part is really bad. And
Mm-hmm.
that one's not, you're allowing Dano to say things. That's a thing Lila said.
Yeah. So,
Um,
so to give people context, I don't know who brought it up first, Dano or Lila, but they were talking about Eucharistic miracles, and Lila said she had seen a Eucharistic miracle, and his response was, "So have I." And what the first thing for any Catholic who hears a Protestant say that, the alarm that should be going off in your head is that you don't have the Eucharist, you cannot have a Eucharistic miracle,
yeah.
unless you're saying I also saw a Catholic Eucharistic miracle. And then the next thing, in my opinion, is that the next thing you say as a Catholic after you think that is you say, "Oh, that's interesting. You know, as Catholics, we would not view it the same way, or we would not think of it the same way." You have to, especially when you're putting out content to everyone else, there is absolutely, especially about something that serious, a level of, trying to think, what do you call it when you like warn someone about something?
Due diligence.
Yeah, due diligence. I'm thinking of a specific term, but I'm not. Anyways,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can go ahead and talk about it.
Skepticism that you
No,
need to
just
view it with.
I'm not. I
Okay.
lost it. Go
Well,
ahead.
so here's the problem, right? So he says I think what actually happens is you told me before the show you saw a Eucharistic miracle. Tell me about that. And his says, I was with these people in Manila. We were praying. The Spirit was moving. Um, and praise God for that, honestly. Like, I want to give credit. Like, I don't want to be bagging on these guys for every little thing, especially things which, like, are good. Like, if you're praying in a group and you're all feeling the Holy Spirit, like, that's awesome. Like, that's great. But the next thing he says is, after I left, they called me and they asked if something said, like, is this thing that happened okay? We were getting ready to do communion and manna fell from heaven. And so, like, first of all, this would be a private revelation miracle, which would need to be confirmed by the church before even other Catholics could believe it, if it happened to Catholics, right? Like, if this happened to Catholics, it would need to be vetted by the church, to go through a process of confirmation. There would be a devil's advocate, like, assigned who, and I don't know how many even. I mean, your audience is probably highly educated, but I don't know how many normal Catholics know this. But, like, when you're vetting a miracle, like whether it's a miracle for canonization or a private revelation miracle, or like, um, private revelation prophecy claims, like things in Marian apparitions, um, there's a devil's advocate assigned whose job is to try to disprove the miracle. So, so anyway, that's kind of beside the point. But here's so her response is, and the rest of it I was summarizing. Her response is, and I do remember this. and I quote, these are exact words, God gave them himself, which is a huge problem because the in under when you start out the conversation by talking about a Eucharistic miracle that these people received, and then say God gave him himself, and then the next thing is that she suggests that they get it tested because when Catholics have Eucharistic miracles, it's like tested as flesh, and you can confirm that it's flesh. It's always the same DNA.
Hmm.
So her implication clearly and undebated, undebate, not it's not debatable that her
Hmm.
implication is that this Protestant group may have been given the sacrament of the Eucharist. And the point I made, because, and this is not something I came up with, this is something somebody else pointed out to me because I was just kind of like weirded out by it. And then somebody else pointed this out to me. Um, that is a problem because to give a Protestant the Eucharist is sacrilege. If you knowingly give the Eucharist to a Protestant, that is sacrilegious. Lila's implication is that God may have committed sacrilege against the Eucharist. To suggest that that is even a possibility is beyond the pale. Like that's not we like that's just there's no way to justify that. And and I point this out, right? I say all of this, and I point this out in one of my posts replying to Lila where I'm like, hey, um, all of like here are these other issues if it's not simony. And her producer's response was, are you saying Protestants can't experience miracles? I think was the exact response. Um,
Yeah. Well, and
so,
I
like, rather than responding to the specific claim and the specific theological issues I had, there was a straw man that Protestants in general don't experience miracles.
Yeah. Well, and I brought up the scripture really quick. There's obviously a serious, it's really, really easy to understand the problem when you read it. It's Corinthians 11:29. For anyone who eats and drinks without discerning the body eats and drinks judgment on himself. So the implication is that God provides the Eucharist for the Protestants to eat and drink judgment upon themselves, which
Yeah.
also obviously
Yeah,
is,
that's another problem, right? Like, it's not
yeah.
just sacrilege against the Eucharist, it's that God would be leading these people, directly leading these people into a mortal sin.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
no, that didn't happen.
Hmm.
Like, it just didn't, like, did bread come down from heaven? It seems unlikely to me, honestly. It seems unlikely. It seems like I could come up with a lot of natural explanations for it. What definitely didn't happen is it definitely was not the sacrament of the Eucharist. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was planning on bringing that up. I'm glad that you brought that up because yeah, that is something I think that a lot of people aren't noticing. And that's honestly probably one of the I think that likely what is going to actively endanger people more is the courses and believe. And you saw people, you
Yeah.
brought up a comment of someone who was
I found a
basically
comment
like,
of somebody
this is
saying,
so
I'm
amazing.
Catholic.
Yeah.
I'm going to go take these courses. Yeah.
And then, but one of the other things is that what it does is reading something like that to an uninformed Catholic, it like if a predatory Protestant comes upon a Catholic who hears that story and starts to, for example, explain to them why the Catholic understanding of the Eucharist, why they're like to try to convince them of a Protestant understanding of the Eucharist, and their favorite Catholic podcaster said what was said about this Eucharistic miracle, it equivocates this and makes it, oh well, maybe it's not this serious. Yeah, it's wrong that we don't allow Protestants to walk up and take communion. I regularly on Twitter, I see Protestants complaining that they cannot walk up and receive communion at a Catholic church. They say, well, that's not how we understand it. And if your favorite Catholic podcaster is talking about how they do receive, it fell from heaven. It fell from heaven. How can they not receive it when God gave it to them? This is like a contrived example, but it is an example of how it is still scandalous for these people and how it is still a danger for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like the
I'm gonna let the dog in 1 second. You
yeah,
keep
yeah,
talking.
yeah. The like the biggest problem here is right. Like, and I talked to somebody else today and I said, well, let me grant you all of your arguments, and let's say that there's not, in reality, any problems with any of this, right? Let's say that it's all misinterpretations and people being too nitpicky and people getting upset about this, you know, it's still a scandal. So here's another thing. I talked to somebody today, and I spoke to someone today, and I said, let me grant you all of your arguments, everything you're saying about, um, you know, it's not simony and it's not scandal, like it's not or it's not like going to lead people astray. The Eucharistic miracle thing isn't that bad. Like it's all being misinterpreted. At the very least, you've agreed with me that you could see how it could be interpreted that way. And Paul, when he's talking about scandal, like the main Bible verse that we base what scandal is upon is eating meat sacrificed to idols. And that's not wrong, actually. What was wrong about it is that it could lead the Jews astray, or it could lead like scandalize the Jews. The Gentiles weren't allowed to do it because it might scandalize the Jews. So if something like this, if you're doing something that is not necessarily wrong in isolation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to lead your brother astray, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still cannot do it. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say that Lila did I actually here's the thing. I think this is probably true. I don't think Lila thinks that this like I don't think Lila I think Lila probably believes what the church teaches about the charismatic gifts. I think that I think that she probably spoke in a way that was reckless about the Eucharistic miracle, but I really doubt that if you were to push her on it, she would say, and you were to have her think about it, she would actually believe that it would be possible for the Protestant to receive the physical body and blood, soul, and divinity of Christ. Like, the main problem with all of this is that is not abundantly clear to the casual viewer. The casual viewer will be led astray by this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main problem. Because, and you said it before, but just to stress it to your audience in case they haven't seen my video, I called EWTN and I said, hey, do you vet all of your shows? I called him and I have the recording of it. I said, do you vet all your shows? Are they all doctrinally orthodox? Do the shows on the on-demand platform go through the same doctrinal vetting and process as the ones on broadcast? And they told me that they were, which means that if a normal casual viewer is questioning, oh, can I trust that? And then they know, but then they're like, well, it's on EWTN, and they vet everything, so it must be true. It must be right. Like all of this must be okay because EWTN vets everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's, you cannot. You would have to genuinely believe that everything in those courses is safe, that everything that he presents is completely true, all the miracle claims are true, that God could give the Eucharist to a Protestant. You'd have to believe all of that to believe that this episode is okay when it's presented as doctrinally sound and vetted.
Mm-hmm.
And Lila's claiming that two priests vetted it. Now, I'm wondering, and this is just speculation, I'm wondering if the priests who vetted it are the priests with Encounter Ministries, because that's the Catholic ministry that Keeley is presenting as a Catholic version of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if the priests who vetted this episode are with Encounter Ministries. So that's interesting. And this is why I want to push this. Like at this point, once Lila has doubled and tripled down, because taking the link out and then replying to me and saying it's not wrong is the double down, and then putting it back in is the triple down, and then
Mm-hmm.
saying and then Keeley saying, oh, well, we had the link to the Catholic thing in there. It's like, you put it in there. It wasn't there before. That's the quadruple down. Like at this point, this like hard commit to this is at this point, it's like, okay, no, like call EWTN every day. Like dial the EWTN number, push 1 to talk to the content department every day and say, review this episode, and just do it every day until EWTN either says, like force EWTN to issue a public statement that says, this is okay, we're okay with this, or take it down. Like force them to do one of the two. You just can't, Like there's no other options. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to like. And here's another thing. Like Keely has implied that I'm trying to cancel the Lila Rose podcast. I'm not trying to cancel the Lila Rose podcast. I'm trying to get one specific episode, which is scandalous, removed from platforms which say that things are vetted. That's not cancellation. That's a specific problem with a specific episode. I don't have a, like have your show, do whatever you want, so long as like you're not doing this thing and I'm right. Like it's a specific episode. I'm not calling complaining about Voice of Reason episodes and the episode where they sexualized Father Mike Schmitz. And I'm not calling and complaining about all of these issues and saying take Lila down. I'm calling and saying this one episode is beyond the pale,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm saying people should do. So when you call, don't go calling saying, well, the Lila Rose podcast has this episode with Voice of Reason up, and she scheduled Father Mike Smith in the past, and she's done all this. That's why when I put out the tweet today, this last night, and said I put specific episode in all caps, this specific one. So
Hmm.
every day, I'm not kidding. Every day, call the number, push one, speak to the content department, and say the Lila Rose podcast with with Dano McCollum uh, promotes a Protestant who differs from the church on charismatic gifts as authority on charismatic gifts, and Lila at the end suggests that Protestants may be able to receive the Eucharist. Please, please review it and take it down. Just do that, right? And be nice because the people there are little old ladies in Birmingham, Alabama at a call center. And they are probably really, really holy women and probably super chill. They're like the Catholic grandmas who pray their rosaries all the time and hold up the church. All you're doing is saying to them a thing that they're going to write down and pass on. So just do it politely, do it nicely, but do it every day.
Hmm. Yeah. Definitely. So I'm to clarify, because Thursday came on halfway through, whatever general critiques I made are my own critiques and only representative of myself. And Thursday is only responsible for the individual things that he said. Just
Yeah,
for anyone who feels the need to try to discredit Thursday's personal,
I have a problem with those other episodes, and I have no problem saying it. That I don't think
but
those
that's
other
not what
episodes.
this is about
But
fundamentally.
that's not what this is about. I'm trying
Yes.
to. To. I want there to be. At this point, I'm. It's not even like a vendetta thing. It's like Mother Angelica built this network on the principle that people could see the see the church's teaching built, taught to them on their television, on the newest media. She was doing the new evangelization and on demand. The on demand thing is EWTN's getting to the next level of the new evangelization, and they're pushing Lila as their flagship, and she's not taking that responsibility seriously.
Yes.
And so you just like I'm not. I wanted. I at first I was angry and I started was like I'm gonna post about this every day, and then a bunch of people were like I hope you're ready to do this every day, and I was like I am, and then I talked to some people and they were like don't do this every day. Try to do it behind the scenes. You'll be more effective if you push it publicly. So I did behind the scenes, and I asked them how long do I have to wait from the behind the scenes, and they said wait a week. So I waited a week.
Hmm. And to
Um,
clarify, the person, it's not like you like DM to someone random. You spoke to somebody you know, and then it was not like you Thursday are having a personal discussion with somebody that you know, and it was not addressed.
Yeah, I
You're
didn't
not
just
some
like text.
200
I didn't
account.
just send an email to Lila Rose podcast at lilarose.com or
Yeah,
something like that. No,
exactly.
I was in a personal text message with somebody I know who I
Yes.
did talk with today. Like they did get back to me today. But
Mhm.
um
And now, since that point, a separate person, who is Keely, who is her producer,
it's a
has publicly spoke a multitude of times
full crash out.
on behalf of the Lila Rose show. So
Yes.
this is very publicly, like, just to clarify, this is not Thursday is not taking personal information or people's personal details that were in private
Nothing
and
I
bringing them
have said
forward.
today was only said in private.
Yes.
I everything the only things that you would not know were the timings of when the private communications happened for the purpose and the only thing is like what I said and when we spoke and had the original conversation and then what I said asking for an update. Those are the only things that were revealed that were private and none of the actual names or like and at this point, I've only said that I spoke to Keely to lend credence to the fact that I am still trying to. I would still prefer to do this in good faith, one on one. I don't think it's necessary to tear a bunch of people down um, publicly.
Hmm.
You know, like I'm not super eager to do that. You know, as much as like, dude, yeah, she was subtweeting me too, which was wild. I got subtweeted by Lila Rose.
Yeah, that was pretty brazen.
I got a text about that. I will tell. Okay, I'll tell you who I got a text for about that. That one I got it. Kyle texted me. It was like, bro, Lila is subtweeting.
Yeah.
That one,
That was
that
funny.
one, Kyle won't care that I tell people.
Yeah,
Kyle texted me. Kyle texted.
yeah.
We have a group chat. I won't tell you who else is in our. We have a group chat just with some of the boys. And Kyle texted the group chat. I was like, Lila is subtweeting Josiah, and I was like, bro,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Ryan said he couldn't believe it.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
so
believe it either. I was like, nah, dude, she's not that brazen. And then I was like, huh, well, I'm just gonna let that go. It's not worth like me making it about me. And then I open the replies and I'm like, well, never mind. All the guys are doing it for like just everybody is making it about Thursday, Thursday and his issues for me.
mm.
Um,
So yeah, there it is. I just wanted to do this talking about it. It's just I think a lot of people are frustrated. I think a lot of people are bringing over frustration to this from past situations, and this situation is somewhat different because it is one of the most explicitly easy to point out this is a serious problem. Here are very explicit ways to remedy these problems. And so I think that you have like you said that you can talk about other problems that anyone might have had, and I don't think almost anyone in this chat, for example, is unwilling to publicly say what issues they've had in the past. But this is out of anything, this is one of the easiest to remedy and one of the most obvious things that absolutely
yeah.
does need to be addressed.
I mean, the other stuff too was like the VOR stuff, like leaving those episodes up is like possibly an oversight, you know. Um, Also, I can understand the like on the right we have like a thing where when people get canceled, we just don't like acknowledge it a lot of times,
Mhm.
and we don't participate in it. And Lila had a personal friendship with Alex, so maybe she felt that. Like I might disagree with it, but there are the point I want to make is there are justifications that are not malice or extreme scandal and bad faith in the other circumstances, I think. And I don't think that that is the case here. I think this specific instance is a microcosm of a lot of possible, the worst case scenarios and a lot of other issues that are now like, boom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. I think we've said everything that needs to be said. So
Yeah.
this is up to this point, up to uh 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Halloween of 2025. That is the feeling of what is going on so far.
Yeah.
Lila, please take it down and do not smear Mother Angelica's good name and her
Yeah.
good
Just
reputation
take
with
it
her
down.
network. Yeah,
I'm gonna
just
get
take
a
it.
Mother Angelica poster made and replace the wicker wall.
There you go.
I'm
Full
gonna hang.
size.
It's gonna be like, yeah, 24. I found a 4,000 by 3,000. Oh, that you know the picture I always post of Mother laughing, the black and white one of young Mother Angelica laughing at like a. Have you seen? Hold on, I gotta text
Yeah,
this
just
to you,
pull it
dude. It's so good.
up.
It's so good. Hold on. Let me DM it to you. You got to show people this. This is the greatest picture of a nun possible. This is maybe the greatest photograph of a nun of all time. Um. All right, I DM'd it to you. Yeah. So I want to hang my.
Let's see. One second. There you go.
It's so great. She's phenomenal.
So
So
that's what we're getting to replace the wicker
I have
wall.
found that picture in no joke. It's 3,000 by 4,000 pixels.
That's crazy.
So I should be able to throw it up at like, you know, I don't know, at least 2 foot by 20 foot, 20 inches, 2 by 20, 24 by 20. And I've got my Nixon portrait from the Nixon administration.
That it's from the 60s?
Yeah, and it's got the like it's the one. So if you go to DC and you go in like um DC like souvenir shops or whatever, you can find a portrait of the president with a replica signature on it.
Okay.
It's one of those from the 60s. It's got the replica
Oh,
signature on it.
that's pretty cool.
There you go. So I'm going to put my Mother Angelica poster up right next to
There
my
you go. That's nice.
Richard Nixon portrait.
Nixon is going to be redeemed in our lifetime, says Chris. He said his
We
public
must
image
pray.
will be vindicated. Yeah, he's probably out of in since I've become politically aware, I would say he's probably gained the most. Him and Pat Buchanan have probably gained the most clout generally, and I'd say Reagan has probably lost the most clout generally
My
in
boys.
the
This is
general
so good, dude.
conversation.
It's hard to not be eternally vindicated. Yeah. So, anyway, I could talk about Nixon forever. So,
Sounds good. Well, I'll have to get you on to do a more creative,
yeah.
individual
Yeah.
episode soon.
Well, also, I'm going to be doing rotating co-host for Saturday Night Sanity Revolt. So, you'll have to come on and co-host a Saturday Night Sanity Revolt, which
Yeah, sounds good.
is a marathon, but it'll be fun, trust me.
Yeah, I'm happy.
People
I
are
have a
like,
lot
"How
to
do you
talk
do
about.
those?" And it's like, dude, it's not that hard. You just sit and talk at the camera for 4 hours.
And if you have something to say, then it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to have you on to co-host a Saturday Night Sanity Revolt with me soon.
Sounds good. Message me.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm gonna end it. Everyone, go over to Thursday's channel, the Sanity Revolt. He has some really good stuff. A lot of good Catholic social teaching. A lot of good political philosophy. A lot of good modern political kind of current event stuff. Good variety. A lot of the stuff I actually like to do, but kind of from a little bit of a different perspective. So thank you, Thursday, for coming on and
Thanks,
perfectly elucidating firsthand what I was attempting to explain. I hope this is useful to everyone. I just want to, the last thing I'm going to say, I don't want to have it be like a million explanations, but obviously this isn't meant to gossip, but this is a call to correction, and it is something that was addressed privately and has now been addressed publicly. Is there anything else you want to leave everyone with? I think that's where they can find you, right?
Yeah. Go to call 1-800-447-3986. Push 1 for the content department and tell them the issue with the specific episode. And because the public has now, I will maintain, and I think A New Crusade will also maintain our objections on the grounds of simony, because the public perception now is that it is, like by priests, is that it's probably that they don't think it is, but there are other problems. Voice those specific problems, because we know that the objection publicly and in the public eye is, kind of
Debated.
lost on simony. As much as I think that is true, we've lost the debate there. Voice the other objections. Voice the objection to the courses being not vetted. Voice the objection to the Eucharistic miracle claim, the other miracle claims. Like, voice those objections, and just that episode, and just ask for it to be reviewed and taken down.
Yes. All right. I'm gonna actually let you go. I'm gonna take you down Thursday. I forgot I have to answer one super chat.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'm
you have a good day.
gonna let you go. All right. Have a good one. All right. Well, I hope Tommy's still here, because I'm going to address his super chat, and I don't think he's going to like it. But he spent an entire $1.99. So, do I believe that Leo XIV professes the true faith? And considering the fact that I'm not a sedevacantist, the answer should be pretty clear on that. The answer is going to be yes. And Sedevacante is going to clip this, and he's going to put googly eyes on me and make a show out of it. But it's up there, and there you go. Feel free. Take it. Josiah Moggs people's sanity. Yeah. We're not talking about that. I'm not going to ask Josiah to speak negatively publicly about one of his good friends. Happy Halloween to everyone. Buchanan over Nixon, obviously. If you want my personal answer on this, look at my last video. It is the second half of the hour or 2 hours or however long I did on it. You'll get my personal feelings on it, but you know, that's I'm but yeah, Sete Picante is not based. Being an ANCAP is really gay, especially since Sete Picante is 50 years old and he's not 18 anymore. Well, that's everything for you guys. Everyone who paid money, there you go. We did not reach our super chat goal, but I was kind of busy talking, or talking with Josiah towards the end, so I wasn't there to remind everyone. Please leave a like. We had more than 20 live viewers. Right now we have 13 and there's only 5 likes. Please leave a like on this. It literally costs you nothing. You don't need to give me money, but liking helps boost it. Thank you to Pasakius, or however you say his name, for Pashgasius for the 5 gifted memberships. For everyone who got a membership, I'm working on putting out some more members content. If you want, feel free to DM me, at me on X, anything like that. If there's something you want me to do, you know, if there's a topic you want me to cover, if there's anything you like in the past, maybe a guest I've had on, maybe I'll have someone like that on for a specific members only thing. I'm going to be doing another talk with American Reform, and we're going to have a specific members only section for more specific topics. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to start doing Getty Ready with Me videos. So that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Thank you for Josiah for coming on, for Thursday for coming on and talking. You know, he originally had said he didn't want to, so I didn't press him on it at all. But I really think it added a lot to the video, and I think it added a good amount of time, gave us a second to talk. And I hope that I was able to put forward these concerns in a way that was productive and that added to the conversation. And I'm not seeking to calumniate anyone or anything like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Next week, Tuesday, in the middle of the day, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking with Calvin Robinson. So look out for that. Going to be mainly about politics, British politics, mainly about American politics. So if that interests you, some questions about his move, stuff like that. I'm not super interested in debating religion with him because I'm not ready to debunk branch theory or whatever his specific thesis is. And I just don't think that's going to be very, you know, productive. I respect him a lot. I think he has more to add to my channel from a political perspective. Also coming up, Kai Schlemmer, speaking with him. We're going to be speaking with Shagbark Hickman, the famous ex-communist hobo and newly made father who has been having a lot of drama recently on X. We'll be talking with him in a few weeks and some other people. Lots of good stuff coming up. If there's anything you would like me to address, let me know, and I will work on getting something made for you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Bye-bye.